This is the Hyperkin DuchesS controller. It's a replica of the original Xbox controller S. This guy works for the Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and then Windows. The sticks have Hall effect sticks, and it's got impulse triggers too, just like the modern controllers for the Xbox. Aside from the controller itself, comes with this really nice braided cable, USB-C, USB-A, and some documentations. I also have the original controller S here. Back in the day when I was playing DOAU, oh my god, I love this controller. It's so much better than the Duke for fighting games. And as you can see here, they're pretty much the same in terms of the molding. Of course, the new one doesn't have the memory cards, but it does have the additional shoulder buttons, which is nice. The black and white buttons are still there. There's a capture button here on the new one, and this is a really bad spot for it. When you do quarter circle forward like this, I would constantly hit this guy. The other thing is this little logo here now is a button. Check that out. How cool is that? On the original, you can't do that. I also have the Duke here. This thing actually is a screen. This is the best part of this remake. Unfortunately for us, we're not getting a screen here. It's just a regular button. Alright, let's plug this bad boy in, and then I'll tell you whether this is good for fighting games or not compared to the old one. Let's start with the face buttons. These switches feel like they're rubber dome based on the original. These also feel like rubber dome based. On the new one, these guys are a lot heavier. And they make a lot more noise. They feel clickier. On the older one, they're a little easier to press. Personally, I would like these to be a little softer and easier to press, because right now, they're pretty heavy. Even though the rubber dome switches, they're really not bad. And the switches on the D-pad as well. The rubber dome switches. They're also pretty clicky, but at the same time also pretty hard to press. The triggers are pretty heavy. And the shoulder buttons are nice and big. However, you can only press them in on the outer edge. You can't press it on the inside. I'm pretty used to using my knuckles to press these, so they're not a problem for me. However, if you're somebody who uses the tip of your fingers to press the shoulder buttons, that may be an issue. Now, so far, everything is heavy about this controller. All the switches, the triggers, but when it comes to the sticks, these guys are hella light. And even though they look just like the original sticks, if you compare them side by side, you see the new one is a lot taller. When you play fighting games, you want the sticks to be shorter, so that way you can do 360s really fast. On the new one, since they're taller, I mean, you can still do it, but it's a lot harder, and it takes longer too. Now let's get to the D-pad. First things first, let's do a pivot test, but not on this guy yet. Let's do it on the original. You see clearly there's a pivot here. Now on the new one, I'll press it down the middle. And as you can see here, the whole thing goes down. So it does not have a hard pivot. However, after you press it down, you can still rock it. All right, so I'm gonna press it down. So it still rocks a little bit. So there is a little bit of a pivot, even though you can press it down in the middle. Now, if you're worried about this guy not having a hard pivot, I've spent a lot of time on this controller, and the lack of a hard pivot here is actually not an issue. I can do motion inputs pretty easily on here. You see here, all the directions work. Quarter circle backwards, it's all here. Quarter circle forward. .360 motions, not a problem at all. Double taps is also pretty good here. Diagonals are pretty good on here as well. And really, when it comes to whether a D-pad is good for fighting games or not, you'll find out real quick when you fight a good player. If you keep on dropping your combos and messing up, you know, maybe the controller's not that good. But if you're able to use the controller just to fight and not think about it, that means the controller is pretty good. And that's the case with this one. It's a pretty good controller for fighting games. I was able to do all of my combos. I don't have to worry about missing inputs. And to me, that's pretty cool despite this D-pad here not having a hard pivot. Alright, let's get to the polling rate test. Of course, since this is a wired controller, so we only have the wired numbers. Minimum input delay, 1.67 milliseconds. Maximum is about 8 milliseconds. So the range is not that bad. Jitter is pretty good at 0.19 milliseconds. What this means is the controller is pretty reliable, it's pretty stable, and that makes sense since this is a wired connection. You're not going to have to deal with interference. Average input delay is a little bit under 4 milliseconds, and this is a pretty decent number. It's not great, but it's not bad either. I would say this is very playable. Polling rate is around the 250 range, so again, it's average, it's doable, it's playable. So there we go. This controller is actually pretty good for fighting games. It's not a pro controller or anything. If you're looking for a general purpose controller that's also pretty decent at fighting games, give this guy a try. Especially if you're somebody who really likes the old controller S. I still prefer the original controller over this guy, but I feel Hyperkin did a pretty good job on it. It came pretty close. Alright, hopefully you enjoyed the video and found it to be helpful. If you did, give it a like, subscribe for more, and take care now.